Welcome back to Cooking for Health. Joining us today is Chef Rosa Zamora with a creamy tomato soup.
Today we are going to be making a creamy tomato soup, and we're going to start by chopping one medium onion. I'm just going to cut it in half, take the peel off. Okay, and then we're just going to dice it into small pieces. The soup is going to be blended, so the chops aren't super important on this. We just want to cut them small enough so that they can cook well. And then we are going to add that to our soup pot, along with a tablespoon of avocado oil. Since we're going to be cooking this over medium-high, we want to use avocado oil because it has a high smoke point. Add that oil in and give that a stir. Okay, now we're going to cook those onions till they just start to turn translucent, and while the onions are cooking, we'll get the rest of our vegetables prepped. We're going to use one carrot. This carrot's really big, so I'm only going to use half of it. So like one normal carrot or two small carrots, whatever you have. And same thing, we're just going to cut this into bite-sized pieces. Along with one rib of celery. And you can add a little bit of salt to your vegetables as you cook them. We're not going to add a lot of salt to this recipe as we cook it. And we're using canned tomatoes for this tomato soup. And reduced sodium is going to be the best because sometimes the salted ones can be very salty. I couldn't find reduced sodium, so I got 1 can of regular and 1 can of no sodium to balance it out, because that way we can just add the salt to our own taste. And the secret ingredient to make this soup creamy is going to be raw, unroasted cashews instead of dairy, and that way we're adding a lot of healthy fat from the nuts, and it's going to be really good, and we're going to blend it all, make it really creamy. Onions are ready, and then we're going to add the carrots and celery. And if your onions are stuck together, just make sure those are all broken up. We just want to get a little bit of color in the pan on those to add flavor to the soup. You want to just kind of keep that moving. And then while that's cooking, we're going to prep our garlic. We have 4 cloves here, and we're just going to cut the ends off of those. You want to keep your vegetables moving because you want them to brown, but you don't want them to burn. And then we're going to smash all the garlic cloves. You just do that with your knife, and then that makes it really easy to peel. We're just going to take all the papers off. Okay, and those vegetables are beginning to brown, so we'll just give those another minute. We'll get our herbs ready. We're going to do fresh cracked black pepper. If you only have ground, that's fine as well as a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. We'll get that ready. Okay, and then we're going to add our garlic. We're just going to toast that up along with our Italian spice. And then a half teaspoon of black pepper. You can kind of eyeball it, or you can grind it and measure it. And if you want to make the soup spicy, you could also add a little bit of crushed red pepper or a chopped jalapeno. And then you just want to cook the garlic and the spices kind of till you smell them, till it becomes fragrant. You want to roast the garlic up a little bit, but you don't want to burn it because it can become very bitter. And I think that's just right. And then we're going to add our 2 cans of tomatoes. And then the acid in the tomato is going to help us deglaze the pan, so we just want to make sure we really stir the bottom. And make sure that any of those nice little brown bits that you built and all that flavor you built while you're cooking the vegetables kind of gets incorporated into the sauce. And then depending on how juicy your tomatoes are, you may want to add a little water. I'm going to add a little bit of water. Just about half a can. And we'll pour that in because we do want it to look soupy. And then we're going to add our raw cashews. And then we are going to lower this to low heat and allow it to simmer to 15 to 20 minutes approximately, just till your carrots and cashews soften up. And then once it is all cooked and soft, we'll blend it. Chicken has been simmering and everything has been softened. Like I said, you just want to cook that until everything, the carrots, the celery, the cashews, everything's soft. Then you're going to add everything to a blender. And obviously you want to exercise a lot of caution whenever you're blending anything hot. Make sure that it's not sealed because it can form pressure and explode. This lid does not seal, so I'll put the lid on, and we're also going to start it really low and then turn up the power on the blender. So just be careful when blending anything hot. You know your own blenders. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a whole package of fresh basil. And we didn't add this earlier because we really want the basil flavor to be very fresh and vibrant. And if you cook it down, it loses a lot of that beautiful flavor. And so we're just going to blend this until it's completely smooth. Which may take a minute. Let's see. Like I said, we're going to start it off really slow. Since it's hot, we don't want it to pop, and then we'll slowly turn up the heat or the power. You just want to make sure that there's no chunks of cashews or vegetables in there. Yeah, that looks really nice and smooth. And while you're simmering it, to get all your vegetables soft, you may have reduced some of your liquid out. And so if you're having trouble blending it, you may want to add a little bit more water. And then obviously the most important thing to do is to taste this. We didn't add a lot of salt in the cooking process, so you may want to add a little more salt, a little more pepper, a little more garlic. If it's too thick, add water or vegetable stock. And that's just really the most important thing is, just taste your food as you cook it and adjust it as you need it. Thank you.
Cooking for Health. A community cooking class brought to you by First Choice Community Healthcare, Agricultura Cooperative Network, La Cosecha, and other valued community partners. Thank you for watching. Tune in for the next fun and healthy recipe from Cooking for Health.